What so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous line o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the and the home of the that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the and the home of the
Grace and peace, you guys. Welcome back to Unshakable with April Chapman, where we discuss all things social, cultural, political, and theological from a biblical perspective. Happy Wednesday, you guys. Y'all, we are in the house. It's been... Did I go live Friday? I don't remember. If I did, I don't remember. I know I dropped the video Monday, and I did not drop something significant or original yesterday. But y'all, we are here. It is the 9 o'clock hour of a Wednesday evening, and I'm so grateful to be here with you this evening. Thank you to all of you who are watching us on YouTube and Rumble. I believe those are the only two platforms I'm streaming on tonight. I didn't feel like, listen, I got to figure out what's going on with Facebook, because I have a sizable audience over there on Facebook, but for some reason, the connection between Ecamm and Facebook does not want to cooperate. So welcome to tonight's live stream, you guys. I have several topics planned for y'all. I know y'all saw the thumbnail. We are absolutely going to talk about Jasmine Crockett and the Bodyguard situation, because it is a little special. But I also want to report on a situation going on in Northern Virginia with an illegal immigrant who was basically groping little girls in a high school. So we're going to talk about what's going on up there in Northern Virginia and how this impacts you as a parent, and how I told y'all a Democrat heaven is in American hell. I've said it plenty of times and I mean it. Abigail Spanberger is up there doing all kinds of wickedness and crazy things to the residents in the state of Virginia. So we got to talk about that. And then we're also tonight, we're probably, if we have time, we're going to talk a little bit about Trump taking Cuba. Okay. Trump said, I might take it. I don't know. Just depends on how I feel. I really can do whatever the heck I want with it because I'm Trump. So we're going to talk about what he said, but the broader implications of what Trump was talking about. We're going to talk a little bit about communism tonight and how it is so easy to expose Democrat hypocrisy. All you have to do is take like a position that is just objectively true and makes sense and say it out loud and watch them take the opposite position. It's amazing how it works. So the first thing we're going to do, like I said, we're going to talk about Jasmine Crockett's Bodyguard. We have a sitting Democrat, well, actually, is she still technically in office, y'all? I know she got drawn out of her district, ran for Senate, and lost. So is she out? I think she's out, but we'll just call her the former Congresswoman who never stops talking about threats to democracy, right? We're trying to figure out, how did homegirl end up with a bodyguard who was allegedly using a fake identity, had a whole criminal history, active warrants, and then died in a standoff with Dallas SWAT. Okay, like basically he came after the police, or at least the police said he came out with a gun in a standoff. So we got to talk about that. And the question is, the broader question, are we supposed to believe that this was all just one big unfortunate misunderstanding and she didn't know nothing? Like she ain't know nothing about this Pookie. Y'all saw the thumbnail. I did put on there that she hired a Pookie. And I will expound on what I mean by that. For my audience who is new here, the uninitiated, if you don't know what a Pookie is, you'll find out in this episode. But this whole situation is just messy and incredibly embarrassing for a politician. And in my opinion, this is a window into the moral rot of the political party that loves to lecture America about law and order and equity and safety and justice and compassion, but they operate like half polished some. It's weird how they do it. They come with a lot of slogans, but at the end of the day, they really don't have any standards. They really don't. And the part that gets me about all of this, Jasmine Crockett finally came out and responded. She wrote a nice little corporate sounding congressional response. And it was basically, well, I believe in redemption. And I'm like, redemption is not the same thing as deception. Okay, I know they rhyme a little bit, they have the same little suffix, but they're not the same. I mean, using your real name is kind of like step one of the hiring process. And so if you're protecting a member of Congress, like security wise, and for me, I need a little bit more than just going off a vibe. I mean, dude got like a big neck. I'm going to show y'all the video. He looks like he either played football or, he's a pretty buff dude. And, but this right here, I would say this is what happens when emotional theater kind of replaces some judgment. So let's go ahead and take a look at this clip. Oh, I told it to be quiet, and it was quiet.
Outspoken Democratic Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett just lost the primary for the U.S. Senate, but she's back in the headlines because her bodyguard was just killed by a Dallas SWAT team. Turns out he was a wanted fugitive.
She's one of the most famous Democrats in Congress, a bare-knuckle political street fighter.
You are the least qualified FBI director in the history of the FBI.
Now Texas Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett is at the center of a firestorm over how she came to hire a fugitive from justice as her personal bodyguard. The bodyguard was 39-year-old Mike King.
Mike a big dude. I mean, I can see the appeal, Jazzy C. I can see it. You probably was like, yes, girl, he gonna go on my body.
He was shot dead by a SWAT team in the parking lot of a Dallas Children's Hospital. Cops say the Congresswoman's bodyguard fled into the parking lot during a police chase and barricaded himself inside his car. When he was forced out of his vehicle by tear gas, cops say he pointed a weapon at officers and was shot.
The Dallas SWAT doctor rendered aid. He was pronounced dead at the scene.
King's real name turns out to be Diamond Mazaire Robinson. Authorities say he was wanted on federal charges of impersonating a police officer and had a criminal record for theft and fraud. King was a fixture on the campaign trail accompanying the congressional firebrand during her recent bid for the U.S. Senate from Texas, which she lost.
We reached out to Congresswoman Crockett for comment but did not hear back.
All right. So that's the basic story. It's not a lot of details to the story, to be honest, you guys. I mean, outside of the security team, he was working on her security team under the name of Mike King. Obviously, that was not his government name, okay? His name was Diamond Mazaire Robinson. Now, we do want to send condolences to the family. This is probably somebody's son. My commentary is going to be way broader than talking about the deceased, okay? But he was a very handsome young man. I could understand why she would want to hire him and have him working on her team, okay? But this is bigger than that. Now, the authorities were saying is that this gentleman has been using an alias for years, okay? And so that means this is not an individual that just kind of flew under the radar and his criminal past was so deep that it was hard to find. Okay, that's not what this was. Now, they're also saying that he had felony warrants and had already posed as a federal officer. Okay, so he meets his demise on the 11th during a standoff with the Dallas police, and he basically was in the children's hospital, and this took place in the parking garage. He emerged with a handgun, and the police found weapons in the vehicle. The car he was driving had stolen government plates. I mean, there are layers to this criminality here. I'm like, stolen government plates. Okay, all right. So the point is, this is not some random, distant acquaintance. No one believes that, okay? This is not just some man that she met one day at the fish fry. It was like, hey, you look like you could keep me safe. This is somebody reportedly connected to her security operation for a very long time, years. Now, I know some folks are going to say, well, April, maybe she truly didn't know. I call cap. I'm sorry. I don't want to believe that, because at this level of the game in politics, there are just some things that there are no excuses for. Now, I get it. I understand that sometimes when we're talking about Democrats, particularly Jasmine and her ideology, sometimes her confusion could be attributed to an ideological misstep, meaning this is the same woman who has gone on record acting like if you come into the country illegally, that somehow that's not illegal. Like that ain't a crime. You're not a criminal because you committed a crime. So maybe in Jasmine's world, lying about your identity ain't really a crime. Maybe it is a little situationship of omission, but surely that's not criminal. I mean, I don't know, fake names, fake credentials, fugitive behavior. Maybe that's just some sort of misunderstanding with the paperwork, right? But let me tell y'all this. None of that, even if that is true, that does not make any of this easy to swallow, because we're talking about a member of Congress, not your cousin selling incense out the trunk of his car, not your neighbor running security at the church picnic. Okay, this is a member of Congress. And somehow the man close enough to protect you was allegedly walking around as a whole red flag in tactical gear. This doesn't make me think, poor Jasmine, this is so unfortunate that this happens. This made me think that either somebody wasn't doing their job, somebody is lying, or somebody didn't want you to know too much and knew and gave this Pookie a pass because, you know, Pookie was, I don't know, maybe he was servicing other ways in the campaign. I don't know. But I will tell you this. Crockett has said that her team followed House procedures for contacting who they supposed to contact when they got a contract security. She's also said that they didn't know that he was using an alias. She believed him to believe who he was and that she believes in redemption. She wrote a letter talking about second chances and all those things like that. And she continued to refer to him as Mike, like the person we came to know as Mike. And she spent a little bit of time in her congressional letter saying that his past just didn't seem to fit the man that she knew. And listen, I told y'all, I get it. With Democrats, if they believe you could be a woman, like a woman could be a man and a man could be a woman, perhaps this is the logical next step. The man we believed to be Mike King, he identified as Mike King, and so that's what we believe him to be. Now, hear me clearly. I'm going to say a little bit about second chances and redemption because I'm a Christian, okay? So, of course, I believe in redemption. The issue is redemption is not code for no accountability. Now, many of you may or may not know my story. I ran a retail establishment for 11 years. Small little, small business. But even I ran background checks. I'm talking about your basic level background check for the county, the state. I mean, we didn't go that many layers deep, but we would have went deep enough to see this. You couldn't even lift a sofa in my store without a basic background check. It doesn't matter. And it doesn't cost that much. You can get a subscription service. Like if you have an HR system. So we used to have like this little HR system. Most payroll systems even are, like if you got gusto for payroll, you can be like, listen, run a background check on this person. Bam. It comes back in like a day. Redemption doesn't mean no vetting. It also doesn't mean that you just turn off your discernment. And it doesn't mean that you get to protect powerful people while hiding behind a false name. So to me, this sounds like purposeful deception. And that gets me to thinking about just Democrats in general, because they do stuff like this all the time. They'll take a real moral concept and then they'll use it like a smoke machine. But be like, no, we got to be compassionate. We need to extend grace to this person. Everyone deserves second chances. This is all about equity. They will talk in terms of justice, and they'll throw words like into the air and slogans and phrases, and you won't really notice the complete breakdown of standards underneath the BS. Okay? So let's just be honest. Y'all know if this were a Republican congressman whose security guard turned out to be using an alias with active warrants and a whole standoff with the police posing as law enforcement and then died in a shootout, the media would not be talking about redemption. We would be talking about right-wing extremism, corruption, how reckless this was, irresponsibility. The right is just all of this radicalization. They are unfit for office. But no, because this is Jasmine Crockett, we're just supposed to process this scandal through some language of trauma and just human decency. And I'm like, okay, so we're supposed to give this Pookie a pass because him didn't do nothing, but all he did really was like have a standoff with the police with a weapon and stuff. Like it's not that serious. Is that the position we're supposed to take? I think not. You don't get to wrap your incompetence in language of compassion. And when we read that congressional letter, I believe that's what she tried to do. She tried to put up a smoke screen, and obfuscate the obvious, like, how did you let this happen? Her office claimed that the team followed all the protocols outlined by the House. And then she claimed that this dude had worked with law enforcement agencies, including the Capitol Police. However, I can't remember the publication. I think it was the Texas Tribune. Texas Tribune reported that a Capitol Police spokesperson said that homie did not, now they ain't say homie, Robinson did not work for or have an affiliation with the agency at all. And I'm like, this is where the story gets uglier. Because now in typical Ratchetane fashion, Jasmine is basically saying, hey, don't blame me. Blame the system. We followed the protocol. And I'm like, nah, sis, we are looking at you. And thank goodness your incompetent behind didn't win that Senate primary. Because, well, ain't that she would have won the general election had she won the primary. But y'all know what I'm saying. Passing the buck is straight from the Democrat hymn book. They will turn to hymn number 263. When they fail, it's never, we made a mistake. We weren't paying attention. We dropped the ball. It's always, this was some kind of structural, systemic, procedural problem that's everybody else's fault except the people who make the decisions. And people like this in office cannot be trusted because they don't take ownership or responsibility for anything. Ma'am, this was your security detail. This was your team, your operation, your judgment, your inner circle of people who are the closest to you. At some point, grown people in positions of power have to stop talking like little helpless interns and own the consequences of what happens around them. And let me say this too. If the reporting about this story is true, that even just basic junior journalists could dig up his record and his alias, if they could pull it up that quick, and then claim that, like she's claiming there was never any reason to suspect something was off, that makes this even worse. This dude's criminal history included several arrests, guilty pleas, ties to theft. The police reported that he had active felony warrants. He's already been accused of posing as a federal officer. So the question is, what are we doing here? What kind of operation are you running? What in the Hood Rat Chronicles is actually happening here? Because this doesn't look like leadership. This is a hot guess. This is a story that you would see like on, like I said, Real Housewives of Dallas County. You'll be like, wait a minute, yo, security? Y'all remember Real Housewives of Atlanta? Phaedra, the attorney, is married to the little 2-bit scam and fraud artist, Apollo. Like, why are women at this level of the game messing around with Pookies? I don't care how fine he is. Bro is a Pookie. Like, he got a rap sheet this long. He in jail. You putting money on his books. You bailing him out. You represent him in criminal cases. And then you marry him, have 2 babies by him, and then be like, we just had to file for divorce. Like, he told you, he showed you who he was better than he could tell you. And so, as it relates to this story, then we're going to wrap it up. I'm going to just zoom out because this story is deeper. It's not just about one congresswoman. This is about a political culture surrounding the Democrat Party. I've told y'all they're a crime syndicate. All they do, they love thugs, hoes, and rappers. That's what they platform. And obviously, that's who they hire too. They will reward degeneracy, all kinds of dysfunction, and then act shocked and stunned when the people in their orbit actually behave like the culture they protect. They will campaign and say, you know what, we want Cardi B and what was the other rapper that Kamala, like it's all a part of their culture of degeneracy. That's why I called it that. You can't spend years and time normalizing and cultivating a culture of lawlessness, disrespecting the police. And then when it's politically convenient, you want to celebrate them, bring them on the campaign trail with you, all their vulgarity and lasciviousness, glamorizing the dysfunction, and then treat all that rebellion and see, we got the rappers on our side and Cardi B endorsed her. This lets you know the mindset of these people. We shouldn't be shocked or clutching our pearls now that this operation is starting to look like a rap sheet with headshots. I don't know why they thought this was New Jack City, but it's not. This is what happens when you build a party that runs on grievance, spectacle, trying to cover up criminality, impulse. Just all you get is drama and excuses. And before anybody starts whining, I know y'all think I'm talking about all Democrats. For the record, I'm not saying every single Democrat without distinction. That's not what I'm saying. But I am saying that Democrats are a safe house for too many people with disordered morals and crooked priorities. These people, every week there is some sort of congressional member or House representative that gets indicted, whether it was the PPP loan fraud, corruption, embezzlement. It's always something. It's always something. So, at the end of the day, I'm not surprised that this happened. I'm really not. However, the question that everybody wants answered is, do we believe that Jasmine Crockett had no idea about dude's past? I'm not going to stand here and tell you that I can prove that she did and that I know what's in her mind, because I can't. Is it fair to accuse her of having some sort of romantic connection with Lil Buddy? I mean, we don't know that. That information has not been made public. And that would be reckless for me to say that. But I will say this. I do find it interesting of the storyline that we had no clue. I don't believe that. Things like this would absolutely give a Pookie or a Ray Ray a chance in exchange for other things. We've seen this happen before. Cori Bush's security happened to be her husband, but I think before he became her husband, I can't keep up with these people. But anyway, listen, I can confidently say that powerful people like Jasmine Crockett are usually far more aware of who they physically have around them than they pretend to be. Once the scandal breaks, though, they act brand new. Okay? However, this guy has been around her for too long for her to say that she just didn't know nothing. I don't believe that. So I'm not buying, that could she have been conned? It's possible. Men lie all the time. However, even still, it would still be an indictment on her judgment, because she hired him, he was working for her, and whether she knew or not, the fact that this is too careless not to know. That option is not, we can't go with that option either. Because one option says you're complicit and the other one says you're just incompetent. Neither one's a flex. So that's all I have to say about that. Anyway, we're going to move on, and we have got to talk about, y'all got this other story. Actually, before I do that, what I was going to say is that before I forget and lose my train of thought, a lot of this, aside from the politics, is about having standards. I saw a video, and I'm probably going to cover it in a separate video. It has not necessarily something to do with this, but I thought it was interesting, is that we have relaxed so many standards, and we don't realize that having standards are necessary for protection. And the moment you remove standards, that's when you create vulnerabilities, scandal, disorder. You create situations like this. So the real issue is not that the man allegedly lied. The issue is that Jasmine Crockett, the way she responded, tells you everything that you need to know about the political instinct of the left. They deflect, emotionalize, try to loop you in with fake compassion, right? They'll try to politicize it. They'll do anything other than personalize it and take accountability for the fact that they dropped the ball, right? This was a catastrophic failure of judgment. And yeah, I don't know what else to say about that. So we're gonna move on to this next story. Now, this next story about this Fairfax assault by this illegal immigrant is wild. This one is super wild. Let me get my clip queued up. I really want y'all. Well, I hope it don't play. Is it gonna play? It might. Let's see.
Only on 7 News Now.
Not to play. It's okay. Y'all doing all right out there? Right. Just what Layla said. Anything but tell the truth and hold themselves accountable. But this next story, you guys, I'm going to say this really plain. This story, I don't even know if y'all have heard it yet, but we have got to talk about this story out of Virginia. And if you are a parent, you need to pay attention. When you are living amongst a government that is more concerned about protecting illegal aliens than protecting American children, if you didn't believe that they were corrupt before, you should be thoroughly convinced that they are corrupt now. What would you do if the school leaders where your kid goes to school drug their feet, hid behind some arbitrary policy, and waited until you had to come up to the school and act a whole fool before they told you the truth? Because this story out of Fairfax County, Virginia, y'all, an 18-year-old, we think he's 18, we don't even know, illegal immigrant is accused of groping not one girl, several female students in the hallway of a high school. You know how many counts? 9 counts. 9 counts of this assault. And the question is not just, oh my goodness, well, how did this happen? The real question is, how many more stories do parents need to hear before they wake up and realize that these Democrat policies are putting American children last? They don't give a darn about your kids. Because this is not just one allegation. This is a pattern of behavior. We've seen from Democrat leadership a pattern of them choosing ideology over order. They will put their politics above everything else, and these illegal immigrants are a thorn in our side, and it's putting Americans at risk. And what makes it worse is that this is happening in schools, places where parents are, you're told your kid is going to be safe, funded by your money. Remember, it is your tax dollars that fund these schools. This is supposed to be a place where your daughters shouldn't have to wonder whether the adults in charge are more loyal to immigration politics than their physical safety. But this is where we are now. This is what happens when government puts ideology first. So let's watch this clip.
Only on 7 News Now, an 18-year-old Fairfax County high school student who is in the country illegally has been charged with multiple counts of assault for allegedly groping girls in the hallway. Our Nick Minock was the first to report this story and spoke exclusively with the girls' parents. We do want to warn you here, some of these details may not be appropriate for younger viewers.
Israel Flores Ortez is almost 19 years old and in the 11th grade at Fairfax County High School. About a dozen girls have come forward to report that Ortez put his hands between their legs and grabbed their privates while in the school hallways. Now he's in jail, facing 9 counts of assault. 7 News has also learned Ortez is an illegal immigrant from El Salvador who crossed the southern border in 2024 and was released under federal government policy at that time. After his arrest, ICE issued a detainer for Ortez last week in order to deport him, but tells me the Fairfax County Sheriff is not honoring that detainer. At a court hearing attended by many of the girls' parents Friday morning, Ortez's attorney requested he be let out on bail. The prosecutor from Fairfax County Commonwealth's Attorney Steve Descano's office agreed.
But the judge did not. After reviewing the surveillance video from the school district and in spite of the prosecutor supporting his release, the judge felt that the bail request did not properly address the public safety.
The parents were relieved because they say they'd been told Ortez would be allowed back in school if he were released. But that's just one of the issues that has these moms mad at the school district.
They have attempted to sweep it under the rug. They sent out a letter last night saying again
after
that
we demanded it. Multiple parents demanded that there be a letter before we got it.
But it was a completely sanitized letter.
Weeks after the incidents were reported to police, Principal Georgina A. sent an email to parents saying in part, quote, these incidents involved the student touching the student's buttocks while they were transitioning in the hallways.
Yeah, no. I would not be here for butt slapping. I would be upset about that, but this wouldn't be my second day this week here at the courthouse for that. It was a clear violation that he put his hand in between my daughter's legs, and the butt was actually the last thing that he touched.
The parents also told me the principal downplaying what happened has only created more problems.
The girls have experienced harassment and bullying from peers at school, including people that they once thought were their friends. And the letter that they sent out referencing it only as buttocks touching just adds fuel to the rumors that they were just attention seeking.
Another detail that came to light is that Ortez has been engaging in this behavior all school year, according to the prosecutor, and nothing has been done about it until now. I asked the school district about that. They said they can't comment on this case and that student safety is their top priority. Reporting in
Lies. You heard that? The school, of course, they're going to say that student safety is their top priority, but that's not true. That is not true. So you heard here, Fairfax County High School. You got one of Biden's babies, okay? Because he entered the country in 24, from El Salvador. So that means that was during the time when Biden and Jacqueline Harris, just opened up the border, let everybody in. He's in the country illegally, charged with 9 counts of assault and battery after groping female students in between classes. Now, the reports are saying that parents were not broadly notified until 2 weeks later after getting pressured from families. Now, you let that marinate in your spirit for a little minute, right? 9 counts, not one misunderstanding, not, oh, he just touched a little booty in the hallway. This isn't one isolated accusation. 9 counts. And yet, the whole public conversation surrounding this is the same tired, we shouldn't politicize this, don't generalize this, don't make this about immigration. I'm like, excuse me? It is absolutely about immigration when the person accused should not have been in this country to begin with. It is about policy when leaders create these systems that they refuse to verify, they refuse to enforce, and then refuse to warn parents. This is absolutely about politics. It's because the Democrats keep building some moral framework where the illegal immigrant gets more public sympathy than American children. This is what we are watching here. First of all, they got them on video. The prosecutor, the principal, everybody seems to be in on it in terms of downplaying what happened. And I'm going to tell you what this is all about. Think about it. The principal ain't got a choice but to play along because you got pressure from teachers' unions to push more policy. It's a whole ecosystem of corruption to support these illegal immigrants. We don't know how much state or federal money at one point the school was getting for how many illegals that they had enrolled. So we don't know if that's the reason why the principal is in on it and the reason why they're downplaying it like it was no big deal. If the prosecutor is a leftist wokist, then you know they're going to downplay it because they can't make it look as if they're pro-America. They got to be pro-illegal because remember, the more illegals we have in congressional districts, the more appropriation of funds that that district will get. This is what happens. When a nation loses its moral nerve and power, and a power grab is the priority, this is what you get. They're trying to paint this picture like borders are cruel. No. Having a law that says if you're in this country illegally, then you got to go back is not hateful. Screening people is not a form of oppression. And the idea that going out of your way to protect children doesn't make you xenophobic. It's called basic civilization. That's what it's called. So here, this is where the story gets really, really ugly. Fairfax County is, y'all, technically not officially a sanctuary county. However, their policies sure do function like one. So they've got these policies that restrict routine cooperation with ICE on civil immigration issues. So you tell me you don't have to label yourself a sanctuary city in order for you to function like one. So they may not want the label, but they sure do love the behavior. Isn't that the Democrat game? Hide behind all the technical language, play word games, while the ordinary people, Americans, they're the ones that have to deal with the consequences. All they got to do is say, well, we're not a sanctuary jurisdiction. Oh, really? Then why do your policies keep functioning like one? That's like a man saying, I'm not irresponsible. I just, I ain't got no job and I don't pay none of my bills and I don't even know where my family is. That's the definition. And so the bigger issue for parents is the fact that these local leaders they've now created an environment where immigration enforcement is now treated like it's some embarrassing social sin. Oh, well, we can't say he was illegal because, that's xenophobic, right? Why are the institutions more afraid of offending the activists than failing families? These people have created confusion, danger. That is what this entire story exposes. This was happening not once, but multiple times, and the school was silent. And when normal people hear this story, they're like, well, why was this allowed to happen? Why was this not communicated, more readily? A memo went out. Why was he not, expelled, suspended, deported? Why are American girls expected to bear the risk while the bureaucrats hide behind process and procedure? The answer is very simple. Democrats have built a political religion out of all of this lawlessness, and they hide behind compassion, telling them we just love our neighbor and sojourner and the immigrant, and they want to sing and rock and kumbaya, while a lot of these people are in here, this country illegally, harming Americans. I told y'all, a Democrat heaven is an American hell. How do we know this? Because every single policy that they create creates a hellhole for you. Let's just talk about the governor, Abigail Spanberger, this nut job. She ain't even been here. She's been in office since January. She's already rescinded several executive orders. One in particular, Executive Order 47. That order required and encouraged the state and local law enforcement to cooperate with the federal immigration enforcement. She rescinds that. She like, nah, we not cooperating. Why would you go out of your way? Like if you're like, this immigration situation is messy, but whatever, executive orders we have in place regarding that, that was one of the first things that she did. Then a month after that, she directed state agencies to terminate all of their agreements with ICE, arguing that Virginia officers should not be used for federal immigration enforcement. So let's translate that out of all the polished Democrat speak. She moved Virginia away from cooperation with immigration enforcement and moved them toward more of a sanctuary haven for the illegals. You can dress it up however you want. You can wrap it up in a press release, spray some perfume on it if it makes you feel better. At the end of the day, the effect is still the same. If the state officials are being admonished not to cooperate with ICE, to distance themselves from enforcement, what does that leave room for? Chaos. It leaves room for more people who can slip through the cracks, all while the politicians lecture the rest of us about how empathetic we're not being. I know the left loves this routine. While they pretend that every objection to illegal immigration is motivated by hatred. No, some of us simply have a healthy doctrine of law and order, and we just want safety. If we don't know who you are and you've not been vetted, the wise and prudent thing to do would be, before we just start opening the door to anybody, these people don't live like this in their personal life. They don't. But they want you to put yourself at risk. A nation must have borders, and a government has duties. Parents have a right to expect, if I send my kid to school, I ain't got to worry about an illegal feeling up on them in the hall. Or worse, it could have been worse. What if he decides to drag a girl under the bleachers and do what you know happens? Schools have a duty to prioritize the safety of children that are entrusted to them. That's not some radical policy. It's common sense. However, let's talk about the fact that this illegal is enrolled in school. Let's just talk about how stupid the policy is. I have another video I was going to show y'all, and I don't know if we're going to have time. But it exposes the hypocrisy here. It's weird to me. If I want to enroll, like my kids have never gone to public school, but I did the research to find out, what does an American parent have to do to enroll a child in school? You got to basically show up with a whole folder, a binder, a file cabinet, possibly the scrolls from ancient Israel to get your kid into school. Think about all the documents you have to have. You got to have a birth certificate, immunization records, and depending on the state, they'll tell you in lieu of the immunization records, you can have a waiver, but it just depends on what state. Proof of residency, and a lot of times for that, you need a light bill, a mortgage statement, a lease. Your parents got to show ID. You need a list of emergency contacts. They probably want your blood type, right? 3 forms of ID just to prove that my child lives in my house. But an illegal immigrant can show up, and the school basically just shrugs and says, well, we don't really know how old he is, but, welcome aboard, bienvenidos, chico. You're like, wait, what? How is it that I got to show up with all of this, and Pablo just gets to walk on in, and we don't even know if he's a citizen or not? So my law-abiding American child needs documentation stacked to the ceiling just to get a seat in class. But somebody who's in this country illegally gets treated like asking basic questions is offensive. What kind of clown show is this? This is why parents are mad. And bless the hearts of the 2 mamas on the news, but they were way too nice. She was like, I wouldn't be up here if it was just for a little butt cheek grab. She should have been raising holy hell. Absolutely. She should have been open up several cans, if you know what I'm saying. Not to be cruel, but to let these people know that we are sick of this. And it has nothing to do with we hate immigrants. No, it is because there is such a double standard And parents can now see this double standard with their own eyes. Like, well, why is it that I have to go through all of this? But I saw a news report. They didn't even know how old this dude was. There are some of these illegals who are like 22, 23 years old in high school. You think they're there because they just want to learn how to read? They are there because it gives them access to young girls. And then we wonder why girls show up missing and how they get trafficked. If you're an American parent and you're like, I just want to follow the rules, but why am I getting burdened by the rules and the people who break the rules get protected from the rules? I can answer it. It's because that's the Democrat model in a nutshell. Citizens get paperwork and bureaucracy and a whole lot of red tape. Taxpayers get the bill. Your daughter gets the risk of getting groped by a freaking pedophile who's probably too old to be in school anyway. Ain't that something? Don't you just love how the bureaucrats always hide behind their polished little phrases like, well, because of student privacy, we really can't share with you his age. They always talk about they want to create a safe learning environment. And I'm like, safe for who? Because it doesn't sure sound like there was safety in the hallways of this school for the girls. This is what happens when a nation loses its backbone and parents got comfortable when you send your child to these institutions of learning and you don't know what the heck is going on. We've just gotten to the point where we've allowed this to happen. How is it that we're responsible for electing who's on the school board? The school board is supposed to answer to us. We're the ones, our tax dollars, that pay the salary of these people. But because we stayed asleep at the wheel, all of these leftists are in charge and they are having their way with your children. To the point now that the system is more stricter with American parents than it is with the people who are not even supposed to be here in the first place. That is insanely backwards to me. But this is what happens when your government starts treating citizenship like it's an inconvenience and law breaking like a protected identity. These people are being protected, and it makes you ask, why? Let me say this real plain. Why do I need 12 forms, 2 IDs, medical records, proof of address, and affidavit, and all this other stuff for an American child, but you're willing to be real fuzzy and flimsy and super flexible when it comes to somebody being here illegally? At this point, it ain't about fairness or compassion, and it definitely is not about safety. This is about ideology. It is about Democrats being so desperate to pad their districts with any and everybody because they know they can't win without these people here, and wanting to look on the outside like they're morally superior while they're doing it, but sacrificing common sense and your family's safety at the altar of political theater. That's what this is. And American families, we're just supposed to sit back, shut up, pretend like this makes sense, and be like, well, they just want to come here for a better life. So, I mean, my little Lindsay, if she's just got to be grabbed in the twat. Did I say that? I did, because that's what happened. He grabbed her in the privates, and it wasn't the buttocks, okay? Listen, no common sense parent should tolerate this foolishness. And I'm getting upset. My kids don't even go to public school, but I have 2 14-year-old girls. I wish somebody would. Y'all want to see me go to jail and go postal? Touch one of my girls and see what happens. I will gladly put on the bracelets. I'm going to jail. I'm going. Chico, Pablo, whatever his name is, he gonna be ushered into eternity. No. Because if I don't get to him first, their father will. Y'all don't want that. We can't have parentless children. I'm just saying, this system is more interested in protecting the feelings of illegal entrants than verifying the safety of the students that are already in the building, that they're being paid by your tax dollars. That tells you that the system is corrupt. Full stop. Democrats are corrupt. I don't know how more plain I need to make this sound. They are playing in your face. They do this also in the Black community. I have talked to teachers and educators who are like, I'm this many years from retirement, I'm out. There are more than half of my class doesn't speak English, and I've had to slow down and revamp my whole lesson plan to accommodate these non-English speaking students, and my children were already behind. That tells me they're not interested in the future of America or Americans and how this is going to impact future employment eligibility of Americans. They're like, if your kid has to suffer so that Pablo can learn how to read, it's a small price to pay. The Democrat Party has shown us over and over again that Americans are not their first concern. They keep telling you. They were willing to burn down a whole city over that truth. That is an objective truth as a Democrat. Jasmine Crockett was advocating for the illegals. You got whole states advocating for illegals. Chicago is in the pit right now because their mayor was advocating for the illegals. Protect them. If they're criminals, excuse them. Radicals, just affirm them. But the parents, no, we got to mock them. No, we mock them and we ignore them. Taxpayers, no, we got to use them, exploit them, steal from them. And when it comes to the children, oh, well, they're just casualties. We'll endanger them and indoctrinate them while we do it. That's the pattern. And every time one of these stories, they come out every week. I don't even get to cover them all. They come out every week. These Democrats don't act shocked or confused. They don't share any sort of, did you hear? The school, the principal, they have no comments. Not, we're so sorry that this happened. No child or student should be subjected to, you got crickets. Then you'll have some of them that we don't even understand how this happened. We didn't see this coming. Our environment is normally super safe. When you tell a nation that borders are optional and that schools shouldn't ask questions, and you want the law enforcement to back off, that's telling us everything we need to know. You're manufacturing the very danger that you later pretend to grieve. You're liars. This is fruit of a worldview. I told you this is ideological. There's a whole worldview behind this that wants you to believe that national loyalty, like if you have national loyalty and just any sort of American patriotic pride, they want you to view that as suspect. And they want you to view law enforcement as this just oppression on the people. And that all we got to do, you just need to be emotionally invested to the plight of this people group over here. That matters more than the moral responsibility to protect the people you've been called to serve. That is the kind of leadership that to a liberal, it sounds really noble until it's your daughter happening at your school, in your neighborhood, until it's your family that's carrying the cost of somebody else's political vanity. Just ask Laken Riley's family. Larisha Thompson. What's the other girl's name? The one in Maryland. Parents, we need to wake up. That's the message. There's a whole lot of propaganda that's coming down that wants to make you passive on this issue. We can't even get the SAVE Act passed right now because of weak Republicans and at this point, crazy and deranged Democrats who want to keep ICE from polling and voting stations and all the other places where you're like, why would you be concerned about legals at the polling place if they don't vote? They won't even fund the government over this issue. I have travel planned in 9 days. TSA, I have friends that are not being paid right now because of these darn Democrats. They don't care about you or your children or America's safety at this point. They don't give a darn, because if they did, in this situation, they would have notified the parents. They would have honored. He already has a deportation order, and the prosecutor won't do nothing about it. It was like, well, just let him out on bail. Let him out on bail? Say what now? A judge had to step in. It was like, okay, but if we let him out on bail, then he could just come back to the school. Like, you don't think that's going to be a problem for the 9 girls he assaulted? You know this teaches your children? Now, American children, we already got a criminality problem, a school to prison pipeline situation. But if American criminals see, oh, you could be, if you're an illegal and you assault 9 girls and they just let you out on bail, and they don't even put you out the country. Well, I mean, maybe if I do it, maybe they won't be so, so harsh on me. I don't know. I'll tell you what. Do y'all remember when I told you that we don't share custody of our children with the government? Democrats think that you're supposed to share custody of your children with them. That's why, in all honesty, they didn't feel the need to notify these parents. They felt like you on a need-to-know basis. This our baby. This our daughter. These are our children. Your daughter being violated in school by an illegal, it wasn't important enough for them to tell you about it because that's y'all's child. And as long as one of y'all knew, that's good enough, right? When we think about it, if you inadvertently and subconsciously are sharing custody of your children with the state, so it's you and the state, y'all ain't married. Well, some of y'all are, in terms of wanting the government to give you free stuff. You are married to them. But if the government is one half of the parental guidance and you're the other half, they're like, well, one parent did know. So we just felt like it was redundant to tell you. We already were aware and we knew and we were handling it, right? They just felt like they didn't need to notify the other parent. That's how I look at it. I mean, if they didn't believe that, if they truly didn't believe that they owed the parents nothing and didn't need to tell them, because they'd be like, well, this is our child. This is our child. One parent knew that was good enough. If they didn't believe this, then they would stop prioritizing all of the ideological optics over common sense security. Like, yo, notify the parents. I'm telling you, stop letting these Democrats treat your children like props for their little political experiment. Because children are not collateral damage. They are not sacrifices on the altar of this multicultural confusion. This little pot of gumbo that they trying to cook at your expense? No. Parents who refuse to engage while this system deteriorates, you are gambling with the lives of your children. And I know y'all like, April, why you fear-mongering like this? I mean, how many Americans have to die? How many Americans have to be assaulted? How much fentanyl need to come through the border? And how much schmex trafficking has to take place before you get the memo that this is a problem? Here's the blunt truth. If a school system will hide serious safety concerns from you for 2 weeks, the school system's already told you what it thinks about your role. You fund it, but you're not allowed to challenge it. No, we just gonna take your money and do what we will with your child. And if something happens, we might let you in on it. So, I'm gonna leave you guys. I think I was gonna cover cover Cuba. What time is it? Oh, it ain't but 10:09. We got a little bit of time. Let me wrap up this story on the little migrant in Fairfax County. What I was gonna say was, if my American child needs paperwork to enter the classroom, but you're a legal alien, I mean, as long as they breathing with a pulse, they can just come on in. This country is not about being governed by reason or logic anymore. It's being ruled by idiots. And if you're a parent, you got to wake up, because all of this inclusivity, it's going to become an excuse after they use your child as the next victim. Mark my words. I ain't no prophet. I'm just saying. What else do we walk away with as the conclusion? So, all right, you guys. Let me grab a super chat. Hey, Brandon. Brandon said, this is Romans 18 through 32. That's one of my favorite books of the Bible. Right here. They have rejected God in every area of their lives, and as a result, God has given them over to debauchery. Come on through here. You're right, Brandon. Thank you so much for this super chat, friend. I appreciate all the support that you've lent to this platform over the past couple of months. He says, Democrats have repeated the sin of the garden again and again, attaining wisdom from their own minds instead of obeying God and seeking his wisdom. True wisdom comes from God. Earthly wisdom leads to death. Absolutely, Brandon. It's amazing that we're talking about children and this whole illegal immigration situation. One of the first things that I taught my children when I was home, well, I still homeschooled them, but when they were really, really young, we started with the knowledge of God first. Before they learned how to read, before they learned a multiplication table, we would sit and I would start with the knowledge of God and explain to them, you can't know anything apart from the knowledge of God. All of the treasures of wisdom and knowledge are hidden in Christ. And through the book of Proverbs, and just having their epistemology start there, it helped them when we would see stuff happening in the world. It helped them to understand what they were seeing, because we began with we didn't work our way up to God. We started with God and worked our way out. So when something as simple as we'd be out and about, and let's say we see a dude walking down the street and his pants are sagging, and my son is looking like, Mommy, that man's butt is hanging out. Why would he do that? I would start and I'd ask him questions, and I'd refer back to, well, what did we learn about the knowledge of God? What did we learn, about the character and nature of God? And then what did we learn about, I would just refer him to different scriptures, and he was able to figure out for himself that something must be wrong with little buddy if he thought it was permissible to walk with his butt hanging out. And then it would just make sense. Everything in the world made sense to my children, because once you teach them God's attributes, his character, and his nature through the scriptures, they will compare everything else to that. And it helps them to understand the depravity of man and just how jacked up and messed up we are, and why they need a savior. It made them make sense. Even if I came to disciplining them and they would do something wrong, I'd be like, you know why you did that? You know why you disobeyed mommy and daddy? I'd be like, because the Bible says that the heart is deceitful and desperately wicked above all things. Who can know it? And he'd be like, my heart? I'd be like, yes, your little sinful heart. It is. I'd be like, you know why you slapped your sister? I'd be like, it came from in here. Like, listen, sometimes now we throws hands. We would discipline with the rod and the staff of correction. We did. But sometimes you could get a whole lot through to children just by impressing upon them about their own sinfulness and their depravity, and they recognize really quickly, like, I am messed up, because Like, I slapped her because she had something and I wanted it. And then you start talking about envy and covetous and jealousy, and they start feeling bad, and they start crying, then they apologizing to their sibling. Now that they older, they just fight like cats and dogs because they still sinful. But at least when they were young, when they were younger, you know, you could bring them to a place of repentance just by reorienting their worldview back to the scriptures and comparing it to the character and nature of God. So I have no idea why I spent so much time on that. I just felt led to say that. But thank you, Brandon. I appreciate that. Let's see. We got to talk about Trump and Cuba. Y'all know my dude. Actually, do I want to talk about that, or do I want to talk about the school, the talented and gifted program? No, we can talk about Trump. Okay, let's do that. Let me get that queued up. Don't play. Don't play. Okay, good. It didn't play. All right. Amen. Absolutely. What I want to talk about now, this story, it's moving very quickly and a lot has happened. But for decades, you guys, we have watched the American left romanticize Cuba like it's some kind of socialist paradise with palm trees. Like the way they talk about it, the reason why a lot of people didn't really understand the gravity of what was going over there, because leftists celebrate socialism and communism like it's a good thing. But meanwhile, the people that actually have to live there and are dealing with the repression and the scarcity, and now, if you haven't heard, there's a full-blown electrical collapse. Country is just in the dark. And then that happens, and Donald Trump, he kind of steps to the microphone and he basically says, you know, I may have the honor of taking Cuba. And of course, every time Trump says something, y'all know he's provocative and he says stuff for a reason. He's trying to get a reaction, and the leftist media buys into it. But now all of a sudden, the same people who claim to care about the oppressed are clutching their pearls at the thought of Donald Trump actually taking Cuba. And they're not clutching their pearls because communism has failed and that the Cuban people are suffering. They don't even give a darn that the island is literally in the dark. They're just mad because Trump said it. So of course they're going to say, oh, he's being a dictator and he's just trying to conquer the world, which, I mean, he's not a dictator. He's really not, but he is trying to dominate. Like, we are trying to dominate because we're America. Like, I don't understand why these people don't get it. Why don't they understand who we are? Okay? But that's the tell. The modern left, for them, tyranny is acceptable, and the orange man is always bad, even when he is out here freeing an entire population of oppressed people from tyranny. So I want to talk about what's really happening as it relates to Cuba, because the story of what Trump said, it's more than just being about Cuba. Every time I cover something, I want to frame it around a broader issue. And the broader issue is that there is moral confusion that's happening here in the American left. And we've got the failure of communism. It's like apparent. But we have the fact that some people hate Trump more than they actually hate the dictatorship and the communism that Cuba has been under for decades. So let's take a look at this clip.
2 months after a dramatic operation to seize the now former leader of Venezuela, President Trump now has his sights set on Cuba. The president said Monday he could, quote, take the island amid an ongoing energy crisis, which has been exacerbated by the U.S. threatening tariffs on any country that sells or provides oil to Cuba. Yesterday, he suggested plans were already in motion.
Cuba right now is in very bad shape. They're talking to Marco, and we'll be doing something with Cuba very soon.
CBS News national correspondent Lilia Luciano joins us now. So the Cuban president said he would respond to any aggression from the U.S. with, quote, Impregnable resistance, and you spoke with a democracy activist. I had to Google impregnable. I'm not going to lie.
Oh, I Googled it in Spanish and English. Don't feel bad.
Impregnable, what is it?
I'm not even going to try.
Okay, all right. What did the activist you spoke with tell you?
Look, I talked to Rosa Maria Paya earlier today. She is the daughter of Osvaldo Paya, who was, according to human rights investigations, killed by the regime. She has been persecuted, prosecuted herself. She cannot go back to Cuba right now, but she continues her advocacy, founding an organization called Cuba Decide. Her advocacy is all about democracy in Cuba, and this is a mission that she has never stopped working towards.
Now, isn't it funny? I thought Democrats love democracy, right? I thought they, always talk about democracy. He's a threat to our democracy. And we have Trump actually wanting to liberate and bring order and capitalism back to this beautiful island that's been destroyed by communism. And now they're facing an energy crisis. I was gonna allow her to finish. There's another clip that I wanted to show you guys.
She tells me right now.
Hold on, let me see. Do I have the other clip? Is this it? Yeah, this is one from Fox. Let's look at that one.
Here's what else President Trump had to say about Cuba.
I can tell you that they're talking to us. It's a failed nation. They have no money, they have no oil, they have no nothing. They have nice land. They have nice landscape, It's a beautiful island. I think they have great people. I do believe I'll be having the honor of taking Cuba. That'd be good. That's a big honor.
Taking Cuba.
Taking Cuba in some form, yeah. Taking Cuba. I mean, whether I free.
Trump is like, what? Did I stutter? Taking Cuba? Like, what you mean? Trump, the way he communicates, I always have a way of saying, I've always said Trump was a sloppy communicator, but I don't think that's what it is. He's not sloppy. He's just so darn direct that you're expecting him to have a little more finesse when he communicates, but he like, no, I said take it. Like, what part of take, acquire, possess do you not understand? I'm gonna let him finish, but I'm watching his mannerisms, the way he's engaging with this reporter, and it's just funny to me because they're like, take. They're like confused, and he's just like, Negro, did I stutter? I said take.
Take it. I think I can do anything I want with it.
Congresswoman Nicole Malliotakis is a Republican from New York and joins me now. Ma'am, you're the daughter of a Cuban refugee. What does taking Cuba, as the president says, what does it look like?
Well, this is something that the Cuban Americans have been waiting for 67 years. I think that you have two options here. It could become a territory like Puerto Rico, or we can help transform it into a free island nation. I think there's mixed feelings about that from the Cuban community, but at the end of the day, what they really want is just for this communist regime that destroyed their lives, stole their businesses, stole their homes, to be gone. And until that happens, we're not going to see real change in Cuba. I know that there were reports of allowing investment to come to the island. That's simply just not going to happen. And anyone who would invest in the island under the current conditions, with a rigged legal system, with a communist regime, would be foolish. This is a regime that, for example, stole my grandfather's small business, his gas station, stole his home. And why would anyone invest there if they don't see a change in government? And so hopefully...
Listen, New York is going to be like a little mini Havana. They keep messing around with Zohran Mamdani. Okay? Y'all don't understand the way communism works. When you cry and say you want all this free stuff, the communist is like, okay, you want free stuff. Well, this is what free looks like for you. We got to take your business. If we can't have it, nobody can. This woman just said they took her father's gas station. Communism doesn't believe in private property ownership. They will just seize it. We have already heard vestiges of this type of worldview from Zohran Mamdani as it relates to property taxes. He was just saying, we'll just take the property. They'll just take it. Can you imagine somebody just be like, this is ours now? and just take it. And I see some people in the chat saying, you know, I really don't think we should take Cuba. First of all, y'all don't, this is hard. There's a learning curve here. I'll do my best to do it quickly. But if I'm not mistaken, Cuba is like 90 miles from Florida, right? So from a political strategy position, geographic location, it would be smart and wise. Y'all got to understand, Trump is thinking ahead. This man plays 4D chess while everybody else is out here playing checkers. If we have threats from Russia and China, right? And Trump is looking at what is near America, 90 miles from Florida. If China and Russia and Iran even try to strike some deal with Cuba and start selling them oil in exchange for that, Cuba might be like, you know what? You can point a missile at America if you want to, you know, for the right price. So Trump is looking militarily, I'm going to take Cuba. But remember, this is the art of the deal. This is a 2-for-1 special for Trump. Trump is like, first of all, they could have significant investments on that island, but no one's going to invest in Cuba under a communist regime. They've got beautiful landscape, right? But right now they have no money, no oil, no nothing. They ain't got lights. The national grid collapsed, leaving millions without power during an already severe energy crisis. Like the nation's in a blackout right now. Okay? Now, they are feeling the shortages and the pressure from Washington. But at the same time, Donald Trump is like, I would have the honor of taking Cuba. And Cubans want that because they're like, we just want to bring prosperity and hope back to this island. Right? What that looks like is the communist regime of Cuba being taken out once and for all, and true democracy and a leadership that prioritizes the people, not oppresses the people, rises up. Yes, that's going to take time. Absolutely, it's going to take time. Like the Trump administration, Marco was talking with them. They're trying to look for new Cuban leadership. But at the same time, it doesn't necessarily rule out the possibility that Cuba could be the next Puerto Rico. I'm not saying that that's what's going to happen, but here's what's crystal clear. There is the possibility that in some way America is going to be intimately tied to the emerging prosperity of Cuba. However, here's what we know. Anything is better than what they're dealing with right now. The Cuba communist model is not working. Okay? And I know that truth. Like the left hates hearing that. They want communism to work so bad. It irritates the socialists and the Marxists and all of the little keyboard comrades who love communism. They don't like admitting that their system of economic governance doesn't work. They don't like hearing that. They will advocate, like Zohran Mamdani, for communistic policies just as long that they don't have to live under it. Have you ever noticed that? As long as they ain't got to live under it, communism is fine. But let me let her finish playing, and then I'm gonna come back and provide commentary.
We will see Diaz-Canel leave, we will see political parties form, and we will see a free and fair election in the near future. And I have great hope that my mother will live to see that day and that Cuban Americans will be able to celebrate a return to their homeland.
That's on, Congresswoman. Hakeem Jeffries wants to force a vote to fund Homeland Security.
Okay, they finished talking about Cuba and then started talking about Tamu Obama, Hakeem Jeffries. I saw some people in the chat saying that we don't want Russia near there. Absolutely. That's what this is about. Trump sees that. It is about chess. It is making sure that our enemies don't get close. Our goal is to control the West, period. The whole Western Hemisphere, Cuba, Venezuela is next. Please believe it. Venezuela is absolutely next. So, I mean, we already got Maduro. We're in a little situationship with Iran right now, but I believe we got that under control. And listen, I know to the weak, the spineless Democratic left, they can't understand what Trump is doing right now. This how the big boys run things. This grown men are in the room at the table. They just need to go and sit down somewhere until all of this is over. But communism, as long as you don't have to live up under it, you can romanticize it from afar, right? They will sell revolution to other people. They'll come over here and talk revolution like the black Marxists do, and talk about cooperative economics and selling rations to other people. They'll sell these blackouts and repression to other people. But they themselves, they still want to live in their air conditioning with their online banking and their imported coffee and their freedom of speech. Like how they can just get up and talk real reckless and crazy about America. They want that. But all of those things that I talked about, that's how socialism actually works. It's a luxury belief for people who have never had to stand in line for bread. And so you have Cubans who are like, you don't know nothing about this life. Don't tell me what we want. And what jumped out to me in this whole story is the reaction that's coming from the Cuban community. This woman right here and the previous woman who have been advocating. You've got Cuban Americans down in South Florida. They heard Trump's remarks and these people were celebrating. They were happy. They didn't respond with horror. And it's because they understand what American leftists refuse to understand, and that's communist regimes do not reform themselves out of kindness, okay? People who've lived under those systems, they don't need more lectures from MSNBC. They want freedom. They want to be liberated. That's the disconnect that the left has from reality. The left looks at Cuba and they see an anti-American symbol, but actual Cubans look at Cuba and they see a prison, right? The left sees an ideology that in a theory that they've never lived under, but real Cubans have lived this and they see that reality. And the reality has a way of embarrassing all that propaganda and showing you better than it can tell you. This is not just a foreign policy story. This is a worldview story. We are watching in real time when a nation, what it looks like when they adopt an economic system and a system of governance that's oppressive, and what happens when you end up embracing communism. And communism always promises equality and everybody's gonna be happy, but all it delivers misery. Y'all saw them blackouts? Buddy got a flashlight just trying to function. Because it always centralizes power, which is what Democrats want to do here. Crush dissent, which is what Democrats want to do here. Communism pushes a narrative and an initiative, which is what Democrats do here. And it makes the state God, which the Democrats absolutely believe that the government is God. And then when their leadership fails, as it always does, the true believers, like your Brandon Johnsons and your Zohran Mamdanis, they never blame the ideology. They'll blame the weather. They'll blame America, Trump, capitalism, misinformation. They will blame everything except the rotten doctrine at the core of their failed ideological system. The fruit tells the truth and it sells itself. Cuba is bearing the rotten fruit of a collapsed grid, a broken economy, horrible infrastructure of people that are trapped, stolen their businesses, their livelihoods. A government is begging for survival while still pretending that it has moral authority. This is not some revolutionary glory.
Fund.
That's not what this is. We watched decay. and Christians especially should understand what's going on here. Every totalitarian system, they want what belongs to God alone. They want your allegiance, your obedience, your submission, your fear, your future. Communism is deeper than economics because it is an economic failure, but it's more than that. It is a theological rebellion. It states that the state can replace God's providence and can provide for you in a way that God never designed for the state to provide for you. It crushes a healthy doctrine of work, the ability for you to provide for yourself by the labor and the sweat of your own brow. It replaces the truth with looking to the government to provide for you. The regime decides what the moral order of the day is. And all of that is just a lie from the pit of hell. We're told, there's a scripture in, did I pull it up? Oh, here it is. Oh, darn, I just saw it. Wait. In the book of, is it Psalms or Proverbs? No. Let me find it. How did we get here? Weren't we talking about Cuba? Yeah. Oh, I know what I did. I put too many things on one page. Let me find this scripture, you guys. Psalm 146, 3-4 says, "Put not your trust in princes, in a son of man, in whom there is no salvation. When his breath departs, he returns to the earth. On that very day, his plans perish." Y'all, that applies to the communist strongman too. Fidel Castro wasn't a savior. The state is not and cannot be a savior. Every nation that treats the government like a messiah eventually reaps judgment, and that's what we watched happen in Cuba. So my position is very simple. Should Trump take Cuba? I say, go on and take it, pimpin'. I mean, take it. Whatever that means for you. It's right off the coast of Florida. We could do some amazing things if we acquired it, right? Like, I'm glad communism is being exposed. I'm glad the lie is being stripped bare and we can actually see for ourselves what's going on there now. I'm glad that the world is being forced to look at Cuba and confront what socialist decay actually produces. I'm hoping the people in New York are paying attention, like, oh snap, we about to be Cuba. We get to get this Zoe Ramadani out of here. That's what I'm hoping happens. We don't know what Trump actually means by, I can do whatever I want with it. I mean, you kind of got to take him at his word, but it could mean regime change, strategic pressure, literally take it as a U.S. territory. We don't know. We'll see. But nobody should miss is that blackout didn't create the failure. It revealed it. And Trump didn't just, by saying what he said, make communism ugly. Communism did that by itself. And Donald Trump and Marco Rubio, in my opinion, are doing a fantastic job. And I believe that we're going to see the liberation of the Cuban people very soon. So the real scandal here is not that Trump said something wild about Cuba. The real scandal is that even with the lights out over there, the shelves are empty. They ain't got no food. I mean, it's bad, y'all. That there are fools still here in America that are trying to defend the system that caused all of that. And that tells you everything you need to know. Communism can collapse an island and leftists will still try to save the brand. That's the word. That'll preach right there. That's what we're watching. So, I love you guys. I really, really do. I have enjoyed covering these topics tonight. Y'all must know. This is what I need y'all to know. I have been doing YouTube since 2022. And when I first started, I was just out here doing stuff. Okay, I'm not even gonna lie. I was just out here doing stuff. And what I'm realizing now, there is such a strategy and a method to doing YouTube well. And sometimes it takes a while for you to find your stride, find out what works for you, find out what resonates best with your audience, and then just to put out a good product. And that's basically what I've been trying to do the past 24 months, is just put out a good product for you guys. And so tonight's live stream was an example of that, in the sense that I covered multiple topics. And y'all know I'm so long-winded. Like when I get off into a topic, like I can go. And while that might be very entertaining to watch in real time, I've got to focus on efficiency. I've got to focus on efficiency, precision, and being a little bit more concise, because at the rate I am going doing YouTube, I can easily burn out, and I don't want to do that. I don't want to burn out. And so Saturday, was that Saturday? I think, yeah, it was Saturday. Saturday, I met up with some YouTubers, had an amazing lunch. Y'all, I don't get a whole lot of free time to do a whole lot of nothing. However, shout out to fellow YouTuber Wise from A Righteous Perspective. Myself, Jason Whitaker from the J Whit podcast, Crystal Beyond Labels, and Wise from A Righteous Perspective. We all sat down and we had a nice little strategy session about YouTube and goals and what we're trying to do and where we want to be. And yeah, I got to get serious. I know y'all think I'm doing this seriously, and I am, but I'm not serious enough. So I do covet your prayers, because I have a lot on my plate. I have multiple competing projects that I'm working on at the same time, and I don't want my content to suffer. So my goal, I can't believe I'm going to say this out loud, because it's going to be holding me accountable. My goal is to release 2 videos a day, 7 days a week. By God's grace, I know I can do it. It's just going to require a little bit more structure. I'm getting there. Had to get my health under control first. So your girl was getting chubby. You had to get that weight up off me. And I'm at my goal weight. Now I'm just trying to make sure it don't creep back up on you, girl. You know, I ain't but one cheesecake slice away. You know what I'm saying? Back to being with the Sherman clump neck. I don't want that. So I had to get my weight under control. I had to get, I just had to get me right. There's light at the end of the tunnel, and I have so many people on the channel to thank for that, particularly Donovan and his lovely wife, Stasha. It was absolutely integral in helping me make a decision as to what to do about them darn hormones. So we've put some things in place for that, and I'm very grateful. So I can't tell y'all what day the 2 videos a day are going to start, but this is what you guys can expect. The goal is to drop 2 videos a day, at least 7 days a week, but I will be dropping my content later in the day. YouTube has told me that you guys are the most active between the hours of 9 p.m. and 11. So that means if that's the time you guys are most active, that is the time when I need to release my content. So I am in a transition phase of trying to accomplish that. And so what else I got going on? I'm going to be announcing soon. We begin shooting for the next documentary. It's called Slavery is a Choice. I'm super excited about that. The trailer, I'm thinking we're going to drop that trailer this weekend, you guys. So I'll probably do a show just about that to give you an idea of what that project is about and how you can support us in that work. This will be completely funded by me and Vince Ellison and Henry Hollywood Morris and all of our audiences combined. Y'all, this is our project. This is something that we're all going to be proud of. We really want to invigorate and wake up the sleeping giants within the segment of this population. There are two groups that we want to wake up. We want to wake up the Black American patriots in this country who've been tired of being told that they are victims and that they have no choice but to be subjugated under the weight of oppression, of white supremacy that's not even real. And then the other group that we want to wake up are the generations of our white brothers and sisters who continue to hold the weight and the sins of what happened in the past on their shoulders as if they had something to do with it and they didn't. This film is going to absolve both parties of burdens that are not theirs to carry. And then it's going to force the other groups to assume the level of responsibility that they should have assumed. But the way we're going to frame it and present it to you guys, it's going to be so inspiring. This film will change your life. I am so confident that it will. I believe in this project. I'm giving this project my all, and I cannot wait. We start the last week of this month. We will begin shooting and filming for that, and we are projected to release Slavery is a Choice by God's grace, maybe summer of 2026. I know y'all like, that's right around the corner. Like late summer, more like early fall, like August, September-ish, when it's not fall yet, but it's still hot. That's when we're thinking we're gonna release it. But it may come out sooner than that. But I'll give you guys more about that. Also, one event that I will be promoting, the Race War Live Tour. There's a stop in Atlanta, and the date has changed. I don't know if you guys saw the announcement, but Race War is the film. It is a TP USA Rise exclusive film with Virgil Walker, Vince Everett Ellison, Stephen Davis. Who else is in Race War? I think Carol Swain. Who else is in Race War? Don't give me the line. I can't remember. Oh, Pierre Wilson, Senior Director of TP USA Rise. That film is coming. We're doing a live screening here in Atlanta. The new date is April the 15th. It was on the 14th. It is now on the 15th. If you already registered, your registration is still valid. You don't need to do anything other than show up on the right day. But if you're interested in registering, it's a very limited space only. You need to go to tpusarise.com/events, and then you'll see the Atlanta event there. You can go there and you can register. I want you guys to come and be there, watch this film. It's an incredible experience. Come meet the cast, come hang out, take some pictures. There's going to be a Q&A afterwards. It's going to be amazing. Okay, so just come and show up because I said so. Okay. Other than that, that is all that I had for you guys. So I think that was all the announcements. Yes. Right. Yeah, now we are trying to get it out before the midterms. Did you guys know in the Texas TX30 race on the GOP side, there is a runoff between Everett Jackson and Sheldon Daniels? Like, y'all, that race is tight. That race is super tight. And I've been trying to, I can't even take a side. I've had both of those gentlemen on my channel. I've interviewed both of them. Sheldon has been running that race. I mean, he was the first to throw his hat in the ring. Then Everett Jackson joined in, and they are running neck and neck, you guys. And whoever wins in that runoff is going to face Freddie Haynes, pulpit pimp, right? Yeah. Y'all cannot let Freddie Haynes win Jasmine Crockett's old seat. You just can't. Y'all, they gonna cheat. So we need to keep our eye on that race. We cannot have that melanated Marxist representing TX30. So that means I got to get on my job and I've got to do as much content as I can to educate the voters of TX30 on why you cannot vote for Freddie melanated Marxist pulpit pimp Haynes. You cannot vote for him. Not unless you want to live like Cuba, have a bunch of illegals in your community, get more welfare, get paid to stay home and not work, free programs, kids in failing schools, sexual perversion, castrating your kids, no school choice. It's just, TX30 deserves better, y'all. So I've got to do my job. And we need the SAVE Act passed. Absolutely. America's in a very vulnerable position right now because we need the SAVE Act passed and we need to get Homeland Security funded. So John Thune needed to make it do what it do before I start making some content about him. And at this point, we need to do the nuclear option. Nix the filibuster and get this stuff done. I'm tired of every 3 months having to go through this foolishness with these darn Democrats. I don't understand why Republicans think that Democrats have new tricks. They run the same dog and pony show. They don't care about America. And if you let them get a power grab of any semblance of power, they will drag this country into a pit. So the only thing we got to do, if we got to nuke the filibuster, we got to do it. We got to pass what we can pass now. The SAVE Act. I just went and got TSA pre-check and the clear thingy, and I had to bring my birth certificate, my driver's license, and my marriage certificate because I needed to prove that who I used to be before I was April Chapman. And it wasn't a problem. I just pulled it out. I mean, like, I'm an adult. I had those things readily on hand, and they're not hard to acquire. We need to pass the SAVE Act. Absolutely. Yeah, you might be right. You might be right. Let me grab this super chat from Cam. Hey, Cameron, how are you this evening? So good to see you. God bless you, sir. Thanks for your hard work, April. Ugh, that warmed my heart. I'm glad you could see. Yo, your girl be working hard, y'all. Content creation is hard. All this talking, lips be dry. It's hard work. Definitely great part of my day to be here. Your Dallas fam. Thank you so much. I don't know if you're in TX30, Cameron, but if you are, I will do my part and contribute in the most meaningful way possible to ensure that Freddie Haynes does not win in TX30. Okay? That's my commitment to y'all. But yeah, content creation I mean, you could just be on YouTube. Anybody could be on YouTube. But to be effective on YouTube, you have to have a delicate mix of, you got to have some humor, right? You got to be able to make people laugh. You have to look like you are enjoying what you're doing. Have a good time, right? Literally have fun. You need to be informative and transformative, right? You really need to, people need to be able to tune into you and say that they watch you because they walk away with something. And consistency, that matters. So for anybody out there wanting to try their hand at YouTube, it looks easier than it really is because it's not. It is difficult staring into a lens that it's an inanimate object. It doesn't tell you if you're doing a good job or not. It's just there. And so you have to figure out a way to pull deep down inside from yourself and give that to the people so that they can feel, one, that you believe what you're saying and that it comes from a real and genuine place. And I think that's what separates a good content creator from a great content creator. YouTube is really, really crowded, and I get that. But my goal, I always endeavor to glorify God, not embarrass my family, right? And to make content that I can look back, I can still see the growth. Like I look back at some of my old stuff and I'd be like, girl, you ain't really dig deep enough for that, right? I was looking at some of my old stuff and I'm like, it was convincing, but it just wasn't there, you know? So who knows what my content will be in 10, well, did I say 10 years from now? 10 years from now, I ain't trying to be on the YouTube, okay? I gave myself a 5-year window and I'm still here. 2022, 3, 4, 5. It'll be 5 years next year. Yeah, I might be on here for 10 years. Because the time is going by so fast. Speaking of which, y'all, next week, y'all, is my birthday. Right? I don't have a happy birthday sound effect, but next Friday is my birthday. And I will probably be here with you guys. I will, because I don't feel like going anywhere. I don't want to fight Atlanta traffic. I ain't got it in me. So I'll probably be here with you guys. Unless my family says that they got something planned, I'll probably be here with you. I know that morning I will be on ARP in the morning, a righteous perspective, but outside of that, I'll probably be here with y'all. So y'all can come on, stop on by. We'll hang out. We'll do a little special birthday live stream. We'll tell old stories like old people. Talk about the good old days. And we'll just have fun. So anyway, I love you guys with the love of the Lord. Y'all, I don't know where my outro is either, but until next time, I know I'm going to press this button and it's not going to be the outro. So I'm just going to end the live stream because I couldn't find the file. So, but until next time, you guys, stand firm, stay bold, and above all else, stay unshakable. Grace and peace.